10. Firkins House, Fort Edmonton Park, Alberta. The Firkins House was a beautiful Edwardian-era residence built in Edmonton in 1912 by Dr. Ashley M. Firkins, a respected American dentist, and his wife Blanche. Its original history was a happy one, a home for the Firkins and their 2 daughters, a symbol of middle-class prosperity. The family lived there happily before moving to California in the 1920s. The house was later moved and preserved at Fort Edmonton Park's 1905 Street, as a perfect example of historic architecture. However, it is in this later history as a museum piece that the house acquired its most famous, and most terrifying, haunted detail, the story of the haunted doll and the sickly boy. Though historical experts debunk the origin, the story is what makes the house a paranormal hotspot. The legend tells of a frail, sickly boy, possibly with polio or tuberculosis, who lived in the house and had a ventriloquist doll as his only friend. After the boy's death, his spirit remained, forever attached to his beloved toy. The chilling encounters include reports from park staff of the doll appearing mysteriously in different rooms, often materializing inside locked cabinets or suddenly seated in rocking chairs. Further reports include sightings of the ghostly, small boy himself, sometimes seen looking longingly out a window, or even seen playing. Other paranormal phenomena include reports from construction crews who moved the house, citing bizarre incidents like tools disappearing and window panes falling but landing perfectly intact. Though the Firkins family never had a son, the powerful, tragic story of the boy and his haunted ventriloquist doll has cemented the house's reputation, making it Fort Edmonton Park's most famous site for supernatural encounters and a truly unsettling experience for anyone who steps inside. 9. The Madison House, Kincardine, Ontario. Built in 1877, the Madison House in Kincardine, Ontario, is a massive 3-story mansion constructed in the Second Empire style. Its early history was that of a single-family home for wealthy local figures, including a liveryman and horse dealer. Over the centuries, however, its role has changed dramatically, serving as retail shops, offices, restaurants, and perhaps most significantly, a funeral home. This layered history, particularly its time as a place where the deceased were prepared for burial, is often cited as the source of its persistent, uneasy atmosphere. The Madison House is locally renowned for being profoundly haunted, with its claims even being featured on the television show Ghost Trackers. The most consistent and disturbing reports come from staff and tenants, as the upper floors are now used as apartments. Witnesses have reported classic poltergeist activity, including items going missing only to reappear weeks later in strange places, and the distinct sound of footsteps moving through empty rooms late at night. The unsettling encounters are often subtle but profound. Tenants have described a bone-chilling sensation of being watched or having an unseen presence brush past them in the dark hallways. Though details on specific spirit identities are scarce compared to other houses, the pervasive feeling of lingering energy, the sheer number of souls that passed through when it was a funeral parlor, gives the Madison House its sinister reputation. It is a place where its current commercial and residential uses coexist in unsettling proximity with the echoes of its solemn, unsettling past. 8. Beck Mansion, Penetanguishene, Ontario. The Beck Mansion in Penetanguishene, Ontario, is a magnificent Queen and Revival structure built in 1885 by Carl Beck, a wealthy lumber merchant who later served as the town's mayor. Though a man of immense wealth, Carl Beck's family life had a bitter chapter that may have sealed the house's fate as a nexus of paranormal activity. The most famous spirit is believed to be Mary Beck, Carl's eldest daughter. After her mother's early death, Mary was tasked with raising her younger siblings. Yet, when she eventually left to get married, Carl was so estranged that he left her only a single dollar in his will. Today, Mary is believed to haunt the house in protest of this slight. Modern guests, who can actually rent one of the top-floor apartments, often report a subtle but strange phenomenon, a gentle, motherly tugging on their bed blankets at night, which some believe is Mary tucking them in, and others interpret as her disgruntled attempt to shoo them away. Mary is not alone. The house is reportedly home to as many as 18 different spirits. Visitors and paranormal investigators report classic haunting phenomena, including lingering smells of cigar smoke, perhaps Carl himself, doors closing on their own, and the movement of dark shadows through the halls. With its history of wealth, civic importance, and deep family conflict, the Beck Mansion has become one of Ontario's most active and accessible haunted residences. Before we move ahead, do you think those stories send a chill down your spine? You haven't heard anything yet. If you're ready for more restless spirits, Click the link in the description or the card above to watch our other video on haunted places of Canada. Let's move to next one. 7. Overlynn Mansion, Burnaby, British Columbia. The Overlynn Mansion in Burnaby, British Columbia, is a stunning British arts and crafts estate built in 1909. While its early history was one of wealthy, tranquil living, its later years introduced a darker element, securing its reputation as a gallery of ghosts. From 1954 to 1960, the mansion was home to a dark and strange place, a cult known as the Temple of the More Abundant Life, whose leader was later exposed as a criminal wanted in the United States. It was when the building was later gutted and renovated that its true paranormal activity was reportedly unleashed. Staff converting the mansion into an art gallery began hearing disembodied voices, inexplicable footsteps, and experiencing large, sudden drops in temperature. Poltergeist activity was common, including an employee who reported his tools being hung on the wall moments after he set them down. Psychics and eyewitnesses agree there are multiple spirits haunting the mansion. The most poignant are the sounds of children crying in despair, with shy apparitions of ethereal children reported to run away when spotted. It is speculated these are the abused children of the cult. The other main spirit is a woman in a flowing white dress, believed to be Grace Sepperly, the wife of the original owner. She is seen gliding through the gallery and disappearing through walls, often exuding a palpable sense of peace and tranquility, as if trying to soothe the other, more tormented souls who now share her beautiful, but deeply scarred, home. 6. Mackenzie House, Toronto, Ontario. Mackenzie House, a modest brick Georgian building on Bond Street, is not architecturally imposing, yet it is widely considered the most haunted house in Toronto. It was the final home of William Lyon Mackenzie, a firebrand journalist, rebel, and the first mayor of Toronto, who lived there from 1859 until his death in 1861. The ghost stories began in earnest decades later, particularly in the 1950s when live-in caretakers occupied the building. The most famous account involves caretaker Mrs. Edmond, who was awakened one night by a soft touch on her shoulder. She opened her eyes to see the apparition of a stern-faced woman, believed to be Mackenzie's wife, Isabel, bending over her. A few weeks later, the figure reappeared, and this time, it allegedly slapped Mrs. Edmond in the face before vanishing. Other terrifying and consistent phenomena center on Mackenzie himself. Witnesses report seeing a small, bald man in a wig and frock coat, an apt description of the former mayor, wandering the upper floors. Perhaps most eerily, given his profession, the old printing press in the basement has been known to mysteriously grind to life late at night. When the house was bequeathed to the city of Toronto in 1960, the inventory of its contents famously included one peculiar item, one ghost. Though an Anglican archdeacon was brought in to perform a blessing, many believe the restless spirits of Mackenzie and his wife remain bound to the place where the fiery politician fought his last battle. 5. Craigdarroch Castle, Victoria, British Columbia. Towering over Victoria, Craigdarroch Castle is a stunning example of a wealthy immigrant's dream made real. Built in the late 1800s, it was commissioned by Scottish coal baron Robert Dunsmuir and was intended as an extravagant family residence. Its pre-haunted history is one of Gilded Age ambition, with 39 rooms and 4 floors of sheer opulence. However, this dream turned tragic. Robert Dunsmuir died in 1889, 17 months before the castle was completed, never seeing the finished result. After his widow, Joan, died in 1908, a complex and drawn-out family ownership battle ensued. The castle then served various roles, including a military hospital and a college, before finally becoming a historic museum in 1979. This long, sad history is exactly what gives rise to its numerous and persistent hauntings. The most prominent ghost is believed to be a gentle woman in a flowing white gown, often seen descending the grand staircase but never seen walking up. She is widely thought to be the ghost of Joan Dunsmuir, still descending for a ball that was never held. Real encounters are plentiful. Staff and guests frequently report the eerie, inexplicable sound of a piano playing in the dead of night, even though there is no playable piano in the house. Another truly chilling presence is the ghost of a little girl seen in the dark cellar, sometimes just standing and staring at the floor. The spectral girl vanishes the moment anyone approaches, believed to be one of the Dunsmuir children who died young. Adding to the unease are reports of a dancing figure visible from outside, shadowy figures in the windows, and the sound of children crying throughout the building. Craigdarroch Castle is a magnificent, albeit melancholy, monument, a grand family home where the living pay admission, but the Dunsmuirs and their sad companions are still the true, eternal residents. 4. William T. Ogden House, Stirling Haunted Mansion, Stirling, Alberta. The William T. Ogden House in Stirling, Alberta, is a grand neoclassical Georgian-style mansion, completed in 1919 by prominent Mormon pioneer and designer William T. Ogden. Unlike many haunted sites that try to downplay their spectral residents, the Ogden House has embraced its reputation, operating every Halloween as the famous Stirling Haunted Mansion. But beyond the costume scares and props, the mansion has a deep-rooted history of genuine paranormal activity, with mentions of it being haunted appearing in village records as far back as the 1950s. The current owners, who live upstairs and run the attraction downstairs, originally scoffed at the stories, but they are now firm believers. They estimate there are at least 4 resident ghosts. The most consistent activity centers around an older man, likely a former resident, whose presence is signaled by the loud slamming of doors that are already locked. There are also frequent reports of heavy footsteps on the stairs and lights and radios flicking on and off without explanation. The owner's son even reported seeing a spectral man sitting on his dresser. Research into the house's various former uses, which include a rooming house, a dance studio, and a temporary school, has given them clues to the identities of the other spirits, which include an older woman, a teenage girl, and a younger girl. The spirits here may share their home with the living, but they make it clear the house is truly theirs. 3. Keg Mansion, Toronto, Ontario. Long before it became the popular steakhouse, the Keg Mansion in Toronto was known as Euclid Hall, a magnificent estate built in 1867. Its original history is rooted in the immense wealth and prestige of the Massey family, one of Canada's most influential industrial dynasties. It was the lavish home of Hart Massey, and later his daughter, Lillian Massey. Lillian lived a life of privilege within its walls until her death in the mansion in 1915. After her passing, the house changed hands several times, serving as a college, a radio station, and eventually falling into disrepair, before being restored and opening as the Keg in 1976. But the spirits of its original inhabitants never left. The mansion's tragic history after Lillian's death is the catalyst for its intense haunting. Distraught by the loss of her beloved mistress, Lillian's maid is said to have hung herself in the oval vestibule near the grand staircase. This vestibule, now just outside the second-floor washrooms, is a major focus of paranormal activity. Patrons report cold spots, ghostly whispers, and unexplained drafts. The most famous incident involving the maid is the sighting of her apparition, sometimes still seen hanging, or at other times a shadowy figure flitting through the room. Lillian Massey herself is also a major presence. She is said to haunt the ladies' washroom on the second floor, which was originally her private room. The most famous real encounter is the frequent sound of a child crying near the bottom of the grand staircase, and a young boy's ghost who has been seen by both staff and patrons. On one famous occasion, a young girl visiting the restaurant pointed to the empty staircase and insisted she wanted to play with the little boy who is playing with the trains. Staff even keep a ghost log of strange occurrences, objects moving, lights flickering, and, on one documented occasion, a glass exploding on a shelf with no one near it. The Keg Mansion offers prime rib with a side of full-bodied terror. 2. The Marr Residence, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Erected in 1884, the Marr Residence is one of the oldest standing buildings in Saskatoon, a testament to the city's early settlement. Built by George and Christina Marr, it was a simple, sturdy family home, a symbol of pioneer life. Its history took a profound turn in 1885 during the Northwest Resistance, when the house was commandeered and used as a field hospital for wounded Canadian soldiers. This period, marked by suffering, death, and intense human drama, imprinted a dark and lasting energy on the modest structure. After the conflict, the Marr family moved back in, and the house resumed its quiet life as a private residence until it was donated for historical preservation, eventually becoming a museum in the Nutana neighborhood. This post-hospital, pre-museum life is where the haunting began to surface, a direct echo of its wartime trauma. The real haunted incidents are a chilling reflection of its brief but intense use as a hospital. Phantom moans and cries are often heard, sounds attributed to the soldiers who perished within its walls. More specific and unnerving encounters are linked to one of the original family members, Sandy Marr. Visitors and staff have reported seeing a gentle, spectral figure, believed to be Sandy, seemingly still keeping watch over the old homestead. The most vivid reports, however, relate to the residual energy of the hospital. Witnesses, including cleaners and late-night security staff, have described seeing shadowy figures in uniform, smelling antiseptic and old blood in the air, and feeling a profound sense of sorrow and despair. The ghost of a grey nun, possibly a nurse who tended the wounded, is also sometimes seen, gliding silently through the rooms. The Marr residence stands today as a place where the history of a brutal conflict is not just documented, but felt, a truly unsettling experience where the past refuses to stay buried. 1. Government House, Regina, Saskatchewan. Built in 1891, the grand, Victorian-style government house in Regina, Saskatchewan, served as the official residence and office for the lieutenant governor and his family, hosting dignitaries and royalty until the 1940s. Its initial history was one of stately service and high society, a vibrant hub of the developing province. But when it was later repurposed, first for veterans training and then as a museum, a different, spectral history began to emerge, one dominated by the shuffling steps of a ghostly cook named Howie. Howie is believed to be the spirit of Chun Li, a dedicated Chinese cook who worked in the house from 1936 until his death in 1945. His presence is one of the most consistent and verifiable hauntings in the house's later history. Staff and visitors often hear his distinctive, shuffling footsteps, the sound of the slippers he was known to wear, pacing the halls, especially in the areas that were once the kitchen and staff quarters. Howie is a mischievous and persistent spirit. Employees frequently report doors opening and closing on their own, the sounds of crying, laughing, and music boxes playing when no one is around, and unexplained rearranging of artifacts. One famous real incident involves an after-hours tour group. After the group had exited and the leader confirmed with security that the building was clear, a figure, a fully visible apparition, was seen standing in an upstairs window. Security immediately checked, finding the building empty, confirming the sighting was ghostly. Howie is not the only resident, though. Adding a bizarre note to the house's spectral inventory, many staff and children have seen the ghostly image of a monkey swinging from the chandeliers, a chilling nod to a small, exotic pet once kept on the premises. The house's current status as a heritage museum makes it a must-see, not just for history buffs, but for anyone hoping to catch a glimpse of the ever-active and unsettlingly friendly Howie.